Tristan Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law, semi-retired pro wrestler, and today, I'm your host. WrestleMania 42, it's locked where it's going. It is coming back to New Orleans, and that's 3 times in 12 years. And what makes this city so special for the WWE? Thank you so much for joining me today. New Orleans has hosted some of WWE's biggest moments, but does the city of New Orleans and Louisiana actually need WrestleMania to survive? Today, we are going to be looking at how past WrestleManias have changed New Orleans, or how New Orleans has changed the WWE. We're going to compare the WWE to the Super Bowl, and anybody that is a pro wrestling fan mainly and doesn't like football, I just need you to hang in with me, because don't worry, I'm in that same exact boat as well too. We're going to be talking about foosball. Our Super Bowl gets ready to start in a couple of days, so we can't wait. We're going to talk about what to expect in WrestleMania 42. We're going to do a little bit of fantasy booking here on the Tristan Law Show. But if it's your first time here, whether you're watching this live or on demand on YouTube, I'm live every single Tuesday and Friday at noon, give or take. But this is fully interactive, so feel free to respond in the chat, talk about what you want to talk about, because your voice matters here. This is not only for me, this is for you, and let's jump into this. But before we jump into it, here's the question. Does WrestleMania belong in New Orleans, or should WWE move it around more? Because, 3 times in 12 years is a lot. Drop your thoughts in the comment. We got... The world is run by the wicked. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. The first question was, do you think that, God, I can't talk. What city should host WrestleMania? And it's because it's my city. You know what I mean. Okay, all right. We got a fellow New Orleanite in the house. Well, I'm not a fellow New Orleanite, but he's, or that person, I don't know if it's a male or female, is a New Orleanite. So welcome to the Tristan Law Show. So glad that your city is getting it for the 3rd time. But before we talk about, whether New Orleans needs a WrestleMania or not, let's look at the history, because this city of New Orleans, Louisiana, has been the home to some of the most biggest moments in wrestling history. So the biggest one, if you ask me, was WrestleMania 30 was the first WrestleMania that took place in New Orleans, and it was the first WWE pay-per-view, or PLE is what we call it now, that took place on the WWE network. Let's have a moment of silence for the WWE network. But WWE has done a good job replacing the WWE network, and they're doing it very covertly. If you don't know, you don't know. WWE is replacing the WWE network on YouTube. If you go to WWE Vault, the person or persons that are in charge of that YouTube channel need a raise. 100% for the content that they put on there. It is amazing what they are doing there. Also in New Orleans at WrestleMania 30, which took place in 2014, if you ask me, I think that was a night that changed wrestling. And when I mean it was a night that changed wrestling, not only was it on the WWE network, but it was the night that Brock Lesnar shocked the world by defeating The Undertaker. It was something that I don't think any of us ever really saw happening at any time. The Undertaker was undefeated for so long in the WWE, and for him to go to New Orleans and just lose that streak there, it's something that's going to live in the history of pro wrestling forever. Another night that changed pro wrestling, Daniel Bryan, the Yes Movement, it takes over. He beats Triple H and then goes on to the main event to win the WWE Championship. And I've been talking about Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, depending on how you know him or where you watch him these days. I've been talking about that Yes Movement, where you catch that lightning in a bottle. You look at that video. You see everybody with their hands up. The Yes Movement, the Yes thing, in case you don't know, is where they sit there and everybody pushes their hands up in the air. Doesn't that look like something that's happening in the WWE right now? Right? Imagine the spectacle of this right here that took place at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans. What's going to take place in Las Vegas in just a couple weeks. It's going to be, we're just making history. We're just making moments. And I'm telling you right now, it's a good time to be a pro wrestling fan. So if you know somebody that is not a pro wrestling fan, you tell them to go be a pro wrestling fan right now, because it's cool. Because it's cool to be a pro wrestling fan right now. Another thing that took place in New Orleans at WrestleMania 30, the night that changed wrestling, it was something that we thought that would never happen. And one of the things that we thought that would never happen is that we got three legends standing in the ring at the same time. They had an 18-minute segment. We had The Rock, we had Stone Cold Steve Austin, and we had Hulk Hogan. We had Liar Hulk Hogan. We had Liar Hulk Hogan. We had the Texas Rattlesnake and the People's Champion, The Rock. That was monumental, because those three men, they led WrestleMania. They were the head of the WWE in their own particular times. Granted, the Rock actually was the only person in the ring that actually wrestled both of those people across from them. And, Stone Cold Steve Austin had his time to when he had his rise and he became the face of the company. Then The Rock did it. But way before all of them was Hulk Hogan. We know that Hulk Hogan's a liar. We know that he's, maybe a racist. We know that he needs to just go away. However, I give Hulk Hogan his flowers for the contributions he made to pro wrestling, and that's where it stops for me. But the economic impact to WrestleMania 30, it was $142 million to the city, and 1,662 jobs were created just for WrestleMania alone. Like, look, if you're a city, you want WrestleMania. You need WrestleMania. $142 million, and all you had to do was open up your front door and say, hey, WrestleMania, come on in. Come do it. So then WWE did it again. They went to New Orleans again for WrestleMania 34 in 2018, and they doubled down. And in 2026, they're going to triple down. But they doubled down again with Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan had his big return. He retired because he was not medically cleared due to concussions, and that's him standing on the left turnbuckle corner there with Shane McMahon, his tag team partner. Look, everybody's doing the yes movement again. They're doing the yes thing with their hands. It was such a good time for Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, depending on how you know him and where you watch him. It was such a good moment because we never thought that he would be able to wrestle again. And we got that moment. That's almost like 10 years ago. Bryan Danielson was in his early 30s, and he thought that his career was over. Also, what happened when WWE doubled down in 2018 for WrestleMania 34, we got Ronda Rousey, her match that exceeded expectations. And I think that Ronda Rousey is the person that opened up the floodgates for everyone, because, we didn't really expect the caliber of athleticism and care and due regard that she would bring to pro wrestling. She opened up the gates for people like Logan Paul, for Bad Bunny, and for many people that will come later on in the future. She is the person that the WWE put the women's movement on their back, and 1 year later, she helped main event WrestleMania with Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. So, and there was also Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, number 2, but the fans were not happy about that. We're not going to talk about that. Don't want to make you mad. But the economic impact to WrestleMania 34, they generated $175 million, and they created 1,500 jobs. Imagine you're sitting around looking for a job, and you're a wrestling fan, or you like sports in general, and you're able to get one of those 1,500 jobs. Your city that needs the money was able to collect $175 million. What could they do with that money? Upgrade the infrastructure. They can put the money in schools. They could do so many cool things in that neighborhood. So it's like WWE has brought WrestleMania to New Orleans twice, and both times it brought in over $140 million. But how does that compare to other massive sports events? Let's talk about the Super Bowl's impact. If you like what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button. I don't know what is happening, but every single morning when I check my subscribers, that number is jumping up and up. That means that whatever I'm doing is resonating with you. It's resonating with the people that you share this to, and I appreciate you. I'm glad that you're a part of the family. When we get to 200 subscribers, maybe I'll do something like a streamathon. Like I'll probably have like 5 guests that I'll probably stream for like 5 hours or whatever. I'll stream for a couple hours and give you the opportunity to pop in and out and talk to different people and just hear our opinions on different things. So yeah, thank you so much for liking. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for subscribing. It means a lot to me. Looking back at WrestleMania 30 and 34 though in New Orleans, which moment was bigger? Was it the end of The Undertaker's streak or Daniel Bryan winning the WWE Championship despite the odds being stacked against him? Let me know in the chat. So, we just saw how WrestleMania boosted New Orleans' economy. But let's compare it to the other big moneymaker of them all, the other brand that's out there hanging out, the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 59, this took place a couple weeks ago. And if you ask me, I think that's a cash machine as well. The Super Bowl, prior to its time in February, a couple weeks ago, in New Orleans, has been there 7 times. This February was the 8th time. With the other time the NFL and the WWE were there, WWE and NFL seem to like piggyback each other. Right? So it's usually for a couple years, it felt like wherever WrestleMania went, the Super Bowl was there or was going to be there. So I think it's cool for the city because they get that huge economic boost at one time because the WWE's bringing in, let's just round it up to $200 million, right? $200 million. And another that's almost $400 million that the city of New Orleans is getting. That's good money if you're a city. If you're a politician, and you happen to be watching my podcast, The Tristan Law Show, get WrestleMania into your city. If you can't get WrestleMania, get a Super Bowl. If you can't get a Super Bowl, get a SummerSlam. Get some kind of big wrestling event there because when WWE and the Super Bowl come to town, they shut the city down. The Super Bowl had a $500 million impact, and that was more than double what WrestleMania 34 made. The Super Bowl 59 had 100,000 visitors, filling up hotels, restaurants, and bars. So not only does the arena get to benefit, the stadium get to benefit when WrestleMania or the Super Bowl comes to town, the small businesses also get to prosper as well too, right? You know, Patty's Pub down the street gets this influx of customers, right, of patrons. And now the WWE could have live events inside those bars, not live events like wrestling, but like different things to be in the community. They can even invite somebody like me, right? A podcaster, not the WWE, but those bars to come over there and give some kind of entertainment for the night to maybe where I do a watch along with the fans or something like that. The thoughts are just endless. The WWE NFL also donated $3.5 million to local nonprofits. If you are a city and you don't have Super Bowl or the WrestleMania, what are you doing? How are you even the mayor or the governor? Like, don't get it wrong. WWE does donate their money as well, too. They come, they read to the kids. They go to the YMCAs. They go to the Boys and Girls Club. They do all the cool stuff. And I think it's great. But when you're looking at WrestleMania and the Super Bowl, what's the difference? Super Bowl is one night. WrestleMania is a week-long event with the Hall of Fame, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and you get indie shows. Wait. You're like, wait, what does indie wrestling have to do with this? You already know I'm an indie wrestler, right? And that's what I do. I wrestle in the independents throughout New Jersey and the East Coast for quite some years. Semi-retired pro wrestler and your host, Tristan Law. Thanks for joining me on the Tristan Law Show. Every year at WrestleMania, the town also gets an influx of indie shows. And the thing that I'm telling you right now, if you can ever be in a town that has WrestleMania, but you can't afford to go to, let's say, WrestleMania, go check out the indie shows. You're not spending an arm and a leg to go check out these shows. You're probably going to spend maybe $50, maybe $100, maybe even way less than those numbers I just called out. I remember when WrestleMania 29 was in New Jersey and I was wrestling for BWO. I was the BWO champion. And we were able to ingratiate ourselves into the WrestleMania culture that weekend as well, too. We had our own table at WrestleCon. You know, there was other people having wrestling shows. I remember Hulk Hogan was there. Lying Hulk Hogan selling his autograph for like $250 or $150 or something like that. And people used to say, That was way too expensive. I agree. It might be a little bit expensive, but you know what? If one person's willing to buy, is it really that expensive? Super Bowl, yeah, maybe Super Bowl brings in more money at one time, but WrestleMania, they spread it across multiple days, right? So instead of people just having a job for one day, you come and you pop the popcorn for one day at the Super Bowl, then you go home and twirl your thumbs and go back to Indeed and wonder what's next. The WWE is giving you a job all week long. Somebody's got to pop the popcorn at NXT. Somebody's got to sweep the arena to get it ready for SmackDown. Somebody's got to put the chairs up for Raw. And when you are thinking about when WWE or even the Super Bowl, but we're going to switch this back to wrestling for right now for a second. When WWE comes to town, they have their, no matter what town it is, they have their set people that help set up the event. People that do the electrical work, running the lights, running the cables, setting all that up. But they only have so many hands to do that. WrestleMania is on a massive scale. They're not putting 1,500 people in the stadium, in an arena. They're talking about putting 3 times that. They're talking about putting 80, or like one WrestleMania had 100,000 people in the stadium, okay? You need a lot of hands just to make that work. So there's people that are like stage hands that get the ability to come in and they get to work as well too. WrestleMania is awesome to the city. You need WrestleMania. It spreads the money across multiple days. Everybody's eating and everybody's having a good time, right? Especially in this economy that we got right now, every dollar matters. Every dollar matters. You know what else matters? You're liking, your subscribe. If you like what I'm talking about, well, hit the like button. And if you have not subscribed, subscribe, and do me a favor. Just share this with somebody. Share this with somebody. We've seen how much money these events bring in, but does New Orleans actually need them? We're going to talk about that. But which is better for New Orleans, if you ask? If I'm asking you, which is better for New Orleans? Do you think it's a Super Bowl or do you think it's WrestleMania? Drop your take in the comments because I want to hear from you. Why does New Orleans need these events? Well, it's easy to take a look at these big numbers and think, New Orleans, Louisiana is fine. But let's talk about the real situation in the city. Hurricane Katrina back in, 05, 06, in the mid 2000s, I think it devastated Louisiana. It devastated New Orleans. Louisiana, in case you didn't know, is one of the poorest states in America, followed by Mississippi. They're not poor down there, they po'. When they out there giving people po' boy sandwiches to eat, they're not calling it po' boy because they rich, because they called it rich boy. And then again, who would buy a rich boy sandwich? I mean, I would. I just want to see what it tastes like, as long as it's within my tax bracket. Unemployment in Louisiana right now is at 44%. They have a housing crisis. Rent and home prices are skyrocketing. And that's for everywhere else in the country, right? But imagine if you can't make as much dollars as you can in Louisiana. The money that we could make in New York, New Jersey, and these other big cities that are Connecticut that have a lot more money, when you go to Louisiana, you want to do the same exact job, they might not pay you the same. You can make maybe $35, $40 an hour to drive a bus in New York City, but if you go somewhere down south, you're not making $30, $45, $40 an hour to drive a bus in anybody's city. You'd be lucky if you make anything over $25 to drive a bus, and I'm talking about that's within your first year. Income equality, some parts of the city, though, benefits from these events more than others because, like, when WrestleMania is in New Orleans, like, New Orleans isn't just like, like a dot on a map, right? When you actually zoom in, you see it's actually a really big place, right? Not every place benefits because not every place has a bar or a restaurant. And a lot of people that are coming into town to celebrate WrestleMania, to experience WrestleMania live, whether they're watching it on TV or in the arena, they're there and they don't want to stray too far from the activity. So anything that's around that tourist area, around the arena, around the stadiums and everything like that, everybody else benefits a lot. But everybody else on the outside, they don't really benefit that much. How the WrestleMania and Super Bowl help? The tourism keeps the city alive. Without big events, hotels and restaurants struggle. So like, yeah, these restaurants and hotels are not making that money, but they're making that cash. Right? Places like Las Vegas. If there was no casino, why would you ever want to go to Las Vegas? And don't say to go to the Bunny Ranch Club, you nasty. That's what we're talking about. WrestleMania, though, is more reliable because WWE comes back more frequently than the Super Bowl. Yeah, Super Bowls have been there 8 times, and they got to spread the love around. Yeah, there's been 59 Super Bowls and 41 WrestleManias, but the WWE is more frequent, and they do this multiple times in the year in multiple cities. For example, in this era, we're getting SummerSlam in August, and I'm going to try my best to be there. I'm looking forward to having 500 subscribers, and we could all come together and probably take a group picture or something like that at the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium. That'd be something that'd be cool, right? But also WWE is going to be, before they get there, they're going to be in Las Vegas. So Las Vegas gets that big pump and dump of money as well too. But in order for the Superdome in Louisiana to get the Super Bowl, they had to make some kind of upgrades. And in order for them to get the WrestleMania again as well too, they had to upgrade. I never forget the WrestleMania in the Citrus Bowl. The first WrestleMania, I think it was WrestleMania 24, where Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels wrestled, and it was maybe Edge and The Undertaker in the main event. But I've heard people say that the seats were uncomfortable, right? The Citrus Bowl, or they call it something like Camping World Center. That place is old. It's older than Jesus himself. And in order for them to get WrestleMania, they just got to keep upgrading it to make it more comfortable, because people don't want to go spend their hard-earned money to go sit on a rock. Okay? I spent my money to go sit at WrestleMania, and I got the 2 chairs to prove it. But the Superdome spent $560 million to make upgrades, which they completed in 2024. That makes the city even more attractive to events. Here are some of the upgrades that they completed. They had vertical transportation. The stadium's ramp system was removed and replaced with elevators, escalators, and stairs. So if you go to some of those old time like stadiums or arenas, even like Madison Square Garden, and I haven't been to Madison Square Garden in a very long time, but they have the ramps that you walk up to go up the concourse. Now you have the escalators. You can go up and down where you're going, and it's a lot more ADA accessible, if you ask me. Concourses were widened to improve traffic flow. So the concourse is where you find the concession stands and everything else like that. And nobody wants to go spend money when they feel like something is busy. You ever been to a park? Well, let me ask you this. When you go to the theme park, there's no clocks in the theme park. Why? Because they don't want you to know how long you stood in line. So like if you're going to go to the arena and perception is everything. If you're going to go to this arena, spend your hard-earned money on popcorn and hot dogs and nachos and beer and all that other stuff, you don't want to stand in line. But if you go and the place is a lot more spread out and people aren't standing so close together, you're more apt to go stand on the line because you'll be like, there's not that much people there. I can stomach that. And for me, I'm the kind of person that goes into the arena and I want to buy all the food. I want to eat the popcorn. I love popcorn. If you don't know anything about me, I love popcorn. I want to buy the hot dog or the glizzy, as the stupid kids call it. I want to buy all the arena food. I love the arena food. One of my favorite places to go right now is the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So I always visit Brooklyn and try to watch something at the Barclays Center because I like the food there. Food and beverage. Speaking of food, the stadium's food and beverage area was expanded and improved and included new concession stands and grab-and-go options. So, for example, right, you don't want to wait in line at the arena, but you want to go ahead and grab your food and you just want to go. So, at the Barclays Center, they have it to where you walk in, you don't have to stand in line, you take what you want, and what you do is you scan your card, your credit card, or you tap your phone before you go in, and it opens the door and lets you in. You go in there, you select your drink and everything else like that. And what they do is people watching you in a camera to not only make sure you don't steal, but they're watching you in a camera to see what you buy, and then they want to charge your card for you. So you don't have to wait in line, and the experience is quick. Just grab what you want and just go. That's amazing, and I hope that's something that a lot of arenas, do in the future. Some of the amenities, they added new bathrooms. It's great to have new bathrooms and suites and ADA accessible seating. One of the biggest thing though is technology. Technology is really big to having these big events there, because like people need, back in the day when you used to go to an event with so many people, your cell phone just overloads the network. your phone overloads the network. Your phone overloads the network. And you wouldn't be able to use your phone. Your phone is worthless. Granted, why is it that you want to use your phone when you're going to go watch WrestleMania either way, right? Why? It doesn't make sense. But you know what? For those people that need to, you should be able to, right? So the stadium improved its Wi-Fi connectivity and introduced a new ventilation system for the restaurants. That's cool. Back of house operations, they added new systems and new technologies. They got that new SoFi Stadium. They got all these cool things when you go to these stadiums. And if you want WrestleMania in your town, you better step your game up. So New Orleans clearly benefits from WrestleMania. But what about WrestleMania 42 itself? What can we expect when the WWE comes back? That's a really good question. And if you don't like my ugly, muggly face, I want to remind you that 6 days after every episode drops here on YouTube Live, you can just listen to me. If you don't want to watch me, just listen to me. You can just listen to me. You can listen here on YouTube. The episodes drop as audio-only versions on YouTube and wherever you find a podcast. But you know what? There's nothing better than live. Join me live. Come and interact in the chat. Come type. Come talk with me. Love all of that. Love all of that. Here's a question. Would New Orleans be hurting without events like WrestleMania and the Super Bowl? What do you think? Tell me in the comments. I'll tell you this. I think that having, as a governor, as a politician, having WrestleMania or Super Bowl in your town, it's pretty much like one big GoFundMe. Instead of relying on the federal government to bring you money, you just have a GoFundMe where everybody's coming in and paying money. Yeah, of course, WWE makes money from selling tickets and having the events, right? Because they still got a business to run. But now the city, the hosting city, makes money off of taxes on tickets, taxes on tourism, different stuff like that. Like living in Orlando. I lived in Orlando for a long time. It's not a secret. That's where I started my pro wrestling journey at Team 3D Academy. I think it was June 2nd, 2007. You don't pay state tax when you live in Florida. You don't pay it in Georgia either. So how does the state make taxes? The tourist tax. So things that tourists comes in and spend money on, they pay the tourist tax. However, if you live in Florida and you try to do those same things that tourists do, they give you a tax break because you live there and you don't pay state tax. So everybody else comes in and pays the tax. So I think that's awesome for every city to have these big events coming because they make that extra money. But let's shift gears because we're over a year away from WrestleMania 42, and I think this could be one of the biggest ever. The reason why I think it could be one of the biggest ever, because if you're like the WWE, anybody with a brain, you're sitting around and you're thinking, you know what, we were here before, and we need to do it bigger and better, right? Because bigger is always better, right? Every episode that I do of the Tristan Law Show, I think, how can I come back to make this 1% better for you? How? How can I make it 1% better for me, right? Because I'm sitting here and I'm asking you to subscribe, right? Politely subscribe if you like what I'm doing. If you don't want to subscribe, you want to come back next time and check it out, that's fine as well too. But I have to try to make it 1% better each time so you can be like, you know what? Let's go ahead and believe in this guy. So the WWE has to do the same exact thing as well too, right? If they want you to keep spending money on WrestleMania and all their other events throughout the year, they need to be bigger and better. Let me explain to you something that you might not understand. Tickets for WrestleMania start selling and they sell fast. And they start selling and they sell fast and you don't even know one wrestler that's going to appear there. You could assume, you could fantasy book, and that's what we're going to do. Who could main event WrestleMania 42? Will we finally get The Rock against Roman? Will Cody Rhodes still be the WWE champion? I think there's just so much for us to have to look into when we go back into, the WWE in lore. Like, look at this. The WWE just signed Ricky Starks, or Ricky Saints, I think his name is. Ricky Saints from AEW. He's from New Orleans. Could it be like a homecoming thing for him? Like, you don't even know that the possibilities are endless. And because he got signed now, and WrestleMania is going to be in his hometown, his home state, a year from now, just imagine how much they can build him up. If he works hard and the fans get invested behind him, imagine what could be at next year's WrestleMania. Imagine if he wins the Royal Rumble next January and gets the main event WrestleMania, only in his first full year in the WWE. How will the upgrades from the Superdome, sorry, I pulled a Hulk Hogan, brother. If you don't know what I mean, you got to watch like the first 18 minutes, the first like five minutes of WrestleMania 30. My bad, I didn't mean to call it the Silverdome. But how will the Superdome's upgrades improve the show? Better seating, Wi-Fi, premium areas equal a huge fan experience boost. That's what it's all about. I went to MetLife to watch WrestleMania 35. And for the price of money that I paid, we had a special VIP section that we can go in and order and get our food and stuff like that. We didn't have to stand in the lines. It was our own place just for us. But in order for us to get there, we had to walk through the main hallway. Got to see Charlotte Flair and a couple of the other wrestlers. I think that was pretty cool. But here's a question. You think WWE will break their own attendance record? So between WrestleMania 30 and 34, they have an attendance record from anywhere from 60 to 65 people, depending on who you ask. Now, what if WWE says, we're going to put 85,000 people inside of there? And you know what? There's a lot of big cojones walking around the WWE. And if they want to put 80,000 people in there, over there are going to put 80,000 people in there. Let me tell you something. WrestleMania 24 in Orlando, I remember they wanted to pack that stadium to the brim. You know what's something they did last minute? They sold out all the seats. And what they did last minute was they sold standing room only. Now, let me tell you, I ain't no idiot. I'm not going to go stand up at WrestleMania all day. Because the last WrestleMania I went to, WrestleMania 35 at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, that I was there for 8 hours long. And I was in the arena for 8 hours long. WWE, y'all not going to bamboozle me and make me go stand up somewhere for 4 to 5 hours and I'm not getting a paycheck for it. Y'all going to have to pay me. But with all this in mind, let's go back to the original question. Does New Orleans need WrestleMania? I think so. Based on everything that we talked about today, yeah. New Orleans needs WrestleMania. I hope that they get it again a couple years down the line. Let's let everybody else get a squeeze of the juice. Let everybody get a little bit of the sauce. But if you were booking WrestleMania 42, you're in charge of WrestleMania 42, who would you have in the main event? Let me know your pick in the comments. New Orleans has hosted 2 unforgettable WrestleManias, and now it's getting a third. But does the city actually need WrestleMania, or should WWE go someplace else? You know what? They need it. And should they go someplace else? Yeah, give it a squeeze. But what do you think? Should WWE keep coming back, or should they change things up? How often do you think that they should go back to New Orleans? Thanks so much for joining me today on the Tristan Law Show. Be sure to drop your thoughts and comments. I read all of them and I respond to all of them. Let's talk about it. And if you already haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Go ahead and do that. For more deep dives and discussions like this, I'm Tristan Law. I look so forward to seeing you on Friday. We're talking about Logan Paul. Thanks so much for watching the Tristan Law Show. I'm Tristan Law, and I'll see you next time.